So let's talk today about why do we even do this emotional eating thing? Is it something that you're frustrated with, right? I felt like my eating and drinking, the most indulgent stuff, had become really, really important to me. Like it was what I considered to be self-love and self-care. And even as I was, kind of recognizing this is not doing good things for my health and it's not doing good things for my weight. And I want to eat healthier than this. Even though I felt I was eating pretty healthy, I also could see there are some less than ideal results in my life. And the more I studied the research about what affects these things I was concerned about, like hot flashes and chronic pain and inflammation and weight gain, and I was diagnosed with prediabetes. The more I studied these things, the more everything was pointing back to eating and drinking. What are you eating and drinking? So even though I had it in my head, I work at eating healthy. I go down the health food aisle all the time. I think I'm doing pretty well. There's a part of me that knew there's a lot of emotional eating going on, a lot of emotional drinking. I would eat something that I wasn't going to eat today, or drink something I wasn't going to drink today. Or I would tell myself, I'm just going to have a little of that. I'm just going to have one glass of wine. I'm just going to have a little chocolate, etc. And once I got started, it just kind of snowballed and took on a life of its own, right? So that felt really out of control to me. It felt really upsetting, like who is in charge of what I'm putting in my mouth, right? And it started feeling kind of shameful, like I don't like this behavior in myself. Any other examples? Is anybody here with me? Does anybody have any examples? Any other examples of emotional eating? Or I think about as the holidays are coming up, there's a lot of pairing and conditioned responses to certain kinds of foods, thinking and drinks, thinking that they go with certain kinds of events and activities. I think about going for a steak dinner and you got to have wine. You can't have a steak dinner without red wine. This kind of pairing that felt absolutely necessary for me. Or if I would go for sushi, I would feel like I had to have sake or I had to have a martini. I had, the drinks, the foods that went with certain kinds of situations. And there would be this kind of, I can't stop myself kind of feeling to it. Does anybody else have that? All right. So I'm just checking to see if anyone's interacting in the Facebook group. So I want to talk about 6 reasons why we're doing emotional eating, because when we hold up a mirror and we see what we're doing and we understand it, we're a lot more armed against it. We're a lot more empowered to do something about it. This is the kind of thing, emotional eating is the kind of thing that takes on a life of its own, that feeds on itself, right? Every kind of habit, every kind of bad habit is autocatalytic. They feed on themselves. They want to keep going. Like our brain loves habits. And so the habit of emotional eating, even when we see it and we go, I don't want to do this, I want to stop this. I want to eat healthier than this. I want to be more in charge of what I'm eating. The habit keeps itself going. So let's step back and look at it with more open eyes and more information, right? I find that having more information about what drives my bad habits, about how to create good habits that become easy and automatic, the more I understand this stuff, the more I can do the actions that make me be able to choose the habits that I really want, that will really give me the life that I want. So 6 reasons we're doing emotional eating. First is, food is something we can control, right? I get to decide what I put in my mouth. Even though in a way I felt like, I don't know if I'm deciding. I thought I wasn't going to eat this today, right? But then I would get to the evening and I'd be like, yes, I am. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to drink this. This is what I'm going to do. So But when we say I'm doing this, when we give ourselves those permission thoughts, like this is what I'm going to do, it feels like we have a sense of certainty. I know how to do this. I know how to eat this thing. I know how to drink this thing. So the first reason for emotional eating is it gives us a sense of certainty and control. Does that resonate for you? Second thing we might be doing is numbing. Like I am having, like my thing every night would be like, maybe this morning I decided I wasn't going to eat and drink like this, but now I've had a rough day. People weren't nice to me. It was really stressful and I feel like I deserve this. And so part of what I was saying is I don't like how uncomfortable my feelings are and I want to numb them. Does anybody relate to that? Do you numb your feelings? You're as you focus on eating and drinking and those sensations. Hey, Cindy, thanks for saying hello. Good to see you here. As we focus on the actions and the sensations of eating and drinking, we bury our feelings, we numb them out. It's not like we take care of the problem or make the uncomfortable feelings it better exactly, but we just kind of shut them down for a while we're doing this other thing, right? Yeah. Okay, third reason we're doing emotional eating, and please let me know which of these resonates for you. So the first is it's something we can control that gives us a sense of control. Second is we're numbing. We're burying our feelings. Like, I don't like this feeling, and I know if I eat or drink something, I'll feel it less. I'll feel the uncomfortable feeling less. Third is we are treating food like a friend. Like this is my familiar companion. I felt all these things, right? Like I had a certain kind of comfort food that I would engage in. Something that was really common for me is I would get a certain kind of loaf of bread that I would heat up and put in the oven, and I would get some really rich cheese and some olives and some wine and some chocolate, and it felt super familiar. And to me, the idea in my head was, this is loving myself. This is taking care of myself. I deserve this. So I would feel less alone, right? I would feel like I have this familiar companion with me. Does anybody relate to that? Another reason we engage in emotional eating is to distract ourselves or just to fill time. Like we just feel bored. It gives us something to do to keep busy when we're feeling kind of, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with myself right now. I definitely felt that. And another thing I felt very aware of is conditioning. So we have so many strong historical associations with comforting ourselves with food. I always remember sort of an extreme circumstance, but one of my clients telling me when she would be upset as a child, her mother would like stuff food in her mouth, like directly to get rid of the upset, to get her to not behave like she was upset. Hi, Allie, good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. Good to see you in here. So conditioning, just the strong historical associations. When I talk about Thanksgiving and holidays, right, we have these associations. Well, Thanksgiving goes with turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and pie and maybe a certain kind of wine. All these associations that get paired up with family and love, right, and special times together. And so it starts to feel like it couldn't be a special time together if the family got together and didn't eat or drink those things, right? So we end up really conditioned to think of certain things as love or comfort, etc. I remember once sitting down and spending some time on the kinds of foods I ate in an obsessive way. One of them was popcorn. And I thought, well, I don't have any conditioning around that. That's just really enjoyable, right? And I also had these ideas about it being healthy and being a way of getting calories that wasn't as damaging as some other things, which now I think, well, that's not really what the research suggests. But I was wrong when I thought I didn't have historical associations. When I looked back again to childhood, I remembered my family used to go to my grandparents' house on Sunday nights for a giant thing of popcorn and Wild Kingdom. Is anybody in here of the age where you used to watch Wild Kingdom or Wonderful World of Disney? And so it was this pairing of love and family and time with family and popcorn. So no wonder when I would be having a rough day at work, sometimes I would like just look for a movie to go to where I knew someone's going to make me this giant thing of popcorn and I'm going to eat all of it. And then I'm going to get another one. Like I knew it felt like an excessive way of eating, but it also felt like love somehow, right? So I want to start questioning some of that conditioning, especially when it's associated with eating or drinking things that are not serving my health and my happiness, right? You guys have heard my story. I just wasn't going for better and better health. And, when I got really honest about it, I was headed for the nursing home in my 60s. I'm now in my 60s. I was headed for the nursing home if I didn't make a change pretty soon. And I only knew that because I started going into nursing homes and going, how come most of the people here are not that much older than me? And it came down to diseases that are caused by our eating and drinking more than anything. So conditioning is huge. And we can start to break these associations, but we have to be pretty intentional and pretty aware about it, right? Now, the number 6 reason that we're doing emotional eating is that there is marketing around us all the time and cultural ideas. So culture and marketing, there's a whole bunch of ideas in there. One is you should never feel uncomfortable or upset. And if you do, eat or drink something or buy something or all of the above, right? So it's like there's almost a whole idea that if you're ever uncomfortable or upset, unhappy, sad, frustrated, any of those feelings, you should make it go away right away because the successful people never have those feelings, right? It's almost like we believe that. And we're constantly being marketed to. I know that the research shows that for cocaine addicts, even a 33 millisecond exposure to a picture of cocaine, even below their ability to recognize that they saw it, makes them start having cravings. Well, when it comes to addictive kinds of foods, how often is that happening to us throughout the day? A lot. One thing the research shows is we are being kind of stirred up to feel hungry day in and day out right now. So 60 years ago, we knew you should have meals and you should not have snacks. Now we think we need to be snacking pretty often. I really believed I needed to be eating protein every 3 hours. So there's all this culture and marketing about eat, drink, eat, drink, eat, drink, and it'll make everything feel better and you'll never have to show anyone that you're upset. Just looking at the comments here, Allie, your fiance loves Wild Kingdom. Can you still find it? Oh, that was such a good show. I'm so glad this is resonating. So 6 reasons we're doing emotional eating. Do you resonate with some of those reasons? Which ones are most powerful for you, or all of them? And when you see how many things are stacked against us to lead us to emotional eating, how common it is, can you start to give yourself a break for these behaviors? Like it's not giving us good results, right? But it's really not surprising. So emotional eating is super uncommon. If you find yourself saying, what do I feel like eating right now? You're probably saying, I want something that's going to make me feel better emotionally. So we are really trained to look for what's going to kind of tamp down my uncomfortable feelings instead of what's going to be nourishing and energizing to my body right now, right? I think about how drawn I was to sugar, things with sugar in them. And it feels like in the moment, like it's giving you a burst of energy. But not exactly, right? It is giving you some energy, but it's kind of energy that's going to crash really quickly and make you feel lousy. That's introducing additional toxicity into your system. So it's very different to look for that kind of quick fix, exciting kind of calories versus the kind of calories that will actually be nourishing for you. Cindy, I'm seeing Cindy's comments. I was a clinic nurse for many years, and the overweight patients usually had a long medication list: diabetes, high blood pressure, joint pain, and add alcohol, which most aren't honest about the amount, right? It's so true. Yeah, all of those diseases that you're listing are so tied to our diet, to what we're eating and drinking. We're living longer these days than we were 100 years ago, but we're spending our last 10 years on average sick now, not feeling well, and having to take lots and lots of medications. And I really wanted to break out of that. All of the women that I work with, like, we don't want that for ourselves. And it relates to high blood pressure and heart disease. It relates to diabetes. It relates to overweight and obesity. And it also relates to cancer. And like you say, joint pain and inflammation, those were huge for me. Had no idea that could disappear when I changed my eating. By the way, I've been doing this eating for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. It's not hard to sustain it all, but it is easy to get convinced to go back to some of the junky things. But as soon as I do now, I get pain and inflammation. I get hot flashes. I get symptoms that tell me my body says that's not good. As long as I was doing it every day, I had no idea what was good for me and what was bad for me. I mean, vague ideas, not very clear ideas, not very helpful. So I'm saying that when you're wandering around saying, what do I feel like eating? What would be exciting and special? I realized I'm looking for emotional eating instead of nourishing eating, right? And I really wanted to change that. Sometimes I was eating to stuff down painful emotions like anger and frustration and irritation. I had this feeling like it's terrible that I'm irritated with people. It's terrible that I'm frustrated and angry. And I'm a psychologist by training and background, right? So hearing myself say, it's terrible that I'm having these feelings, there's a part of my brain going, is it though? Is it really so terrible? But I would always numb them. I would always use eating and drinking to numb those feelings. And I just really had to sort of put a stop in there, put a pause in there and say, what if you just let yourself feel these feelings, right? Right. But it's really normal to try to comfort ourselves with food, and it's really common in our society. So to break out of this, we really need to get some awareness, right? The other thing we can do is eat to fill a void, of feeling of being bored or sad or lonely or empty or unloved or unappreciated. Like, husband comes home, goes and does what he does, doesn't even really acknowledge us. It's like, yep, I'm gonna need to eat and drink some stuff now, right? So it's very, very common. It's very promoted in our society to go ahead and eat or drink something that will kind of numb any uncomfortable feelings. And the pandemic made this way worse for a lot of people. I've heard that the average weight gain during the pandemic was 30 pounds. My clients were telling me that they were looking it up because they would go to their doctor and their doctor would say, how'd you lose 30 pounds during the pandemic? Everyone else has gained it, right? So I started looking for that research too. Yeah, how heartbreaking is that? We already, 80% of us were overweight or obese, and it's just gotten worse. And it's partly because we didn't know what to do with ourselves, with those emotions, right? All we know is eating and drinking. So in a way, we want to just disrupt this habit. We want to recognize it as a habit we want to change, right? So why do we want to change this? I just thought, okay, I'm talking about we don't want to do emotional eating, but we just said it does comfort us. We do find we get some comfort. Even if you look at our hormones, you get a certain amount of release of serotonin, which is a calming, pleasant chemical in your body when you eat, right? So at least it's making you feel a little better in the moment. That's one of the keys to whether we're going to live a life that we really enjoy for decades to come, or we're going to live sick for a long time, taking more and more medications, spending more and more time and money on doctors, et cetera, right? So why do we want to change this emotional eating? So one is it drives an unhealthy relationship with food and eating. right? So we're eating to address feelings, to numb feelings, to feel love. Eating doesn't actually give us love, right? It's just an association that we have. So we're eating to fill needs that eating doesn't actually truly fill, right? It's not helping us solve the problems that we're upset about. It's not helping us move through and get to the next, developmental, success in life. So it's driving an unhealthy relationship with food and eating, and it easily escalates. It's autocatalytic. It builds on itself. It feeds on itself. So I'm eating for eliminating feelings. I'm eating for trying to get love. Eating is not going to give me love. I'm eating to shut down uncomfortable emotions. I don't even really know how to eat for nutrition at this point, right? This has become such a habit. I don't really know the difference. So it drives an unhealthy relationship with food and eating. I'm just thinking about, I guess I'll just mention Michaelina, one of my clients who was this genius dieter and just a really beautiful woman, always dressed really nice, always showed up her best, but she was dieting her whole life, and it wasn't turning out well for her body, for her weight. It wasn't turning out well anymore. Even her liver functions were getting really scary and were being tracked all the time. And her relationship with eating was miserable. Like, I hate eating. Eating is miserable. I wish I just didn't have to do it. We don't want to feel like that. My goodness. So our relationship with food and eating matters, right? I started caring more about that. So that's one reason I wanted to change emotional eating. Another is, like I mentioned, it was driving lousy results for my health and my weight. My health was going downhill rapidly. Even though I thought I'm eating pretty healthy, my health wasn't suggesting that. I had terrible hot flashes. I had brain fog. That's not an indication of health, right? Neither of those. Both of those are indications something's not right in my brain, right? And something's not right in my hormones. The pain and inflammation, the prediabetes, etc. Insomnia, terrible insomnia. So it was driving really lousy results for my health and for my weight. I was 60 pounds overweight. It was super uncomfortable being that size and being that overweight. And it drives, this emotional eating tends to feel out of control, right? I wasn't going to eat and drink that tonight. Like, who put it in my mouth? You ever feel like that? Who put this stuff in my mouth? That's not for me. So it drives an unhealthy relationship with ourself and our feelings and our sense of being in charge of our own lives. When I started studying the idea of entropy, I love studying human development, right? I love the idea that we can keep becoming better and better versions of ourselves. But if I was honest, that's not what I was seeing happening in a lot of ways with myself. And so as I studied this, I saw that the opposite of that kind of continual growth is entropy, is kind of decay. And that's what I was actually seeing in my life. That's what's the most natural, unless we're really clear and intentional about doing things that keep leading to growth and development. What's naturally going to happen is decline and decay. It's so depressing, right? But I started realizing I want to change this, and I'm going to have to figure out what that looks like, because just saying this to myself every morning and changing my mind every night is not getting me anywhere, right? All right. So we don't want to make ourselves feel wrong about emotional eating. We don't want to beat ourselves up. That isn't helpful at all. We're looking for comfort, and this has proven to be something that's comforting, at least in the moment, for many years, many decades, many instances. So it's normal, it's understandable that we're doing this, especially with all those drivers, those 6 drivers of emotional eating. So we're accustomed to doing it. It's what we've learned to do. And it does give us that serotonin relief, right? So it's a very understandable and common habit, but we can stop it. it drives this unhealthy relationship with food and eating. It drives poor results, and it drives an unhealthy relationship with ourselves. I remember like going to bed at night feeling bad about myself and waking up in the morning feeling bad about myself and feeling like I don't have any control over my eating and drinking. In the mornings, I'll make a certain kind of plan, and by the evening, I've thrown it out. Like I'm so out of integrity with myself. So that was actually one of my biggest motivators. I really didn't feel comfortable the size I was. I was really getting worried about my health, but I also was feeling badly about myself. Like I'm not my best self these days, and I haven't been for a while. So I wanted to stop emotional eating. So I want to give you 4 keys when you're ready to stop emotional eating, what you can do, right? So the first thing is know that it can be done. Yes, your habits try to hold on, but once you get very clear and very intentional about changing them, you can change them, right? Can you think of a habit that you changed because it became important? You were intentional, you were ready to do it. It really is important to know and tell yourself, this can be done. Other people have done it, so I can do it, right? Second, strengthen your self-awareness. Just get curious. Definitely not about beating yourself up. You want to approach yourself with grace and compassion, but just start asking yourself, like when you're thinking, I got to eat, I got to drink right now, I got to do this. Just stop for a second and get curious. Wait, what am I feeling? I remember having to just slow down and go, what am I feeling right now that I feel like I must eat and drink in a way I said I wasn't going to, right? What am I feeling? Just slow down and put a name to it. That already gives you some relief, right? It helped me to categorize it. Is this a bored, empty, lack kind of emotion, sad, unappreciated, or is this a pressure, irritated, angry, frustrated kind of emotion? Because they kind of led me in somewhat different directions, but just starting to narrow in on what am I feeling? Do I have it? Can I put a name to it, you know? Did something happen that upset me? I was so disconnected from my feelings, from all the emotional eating and drinking, that I really had to take this slow. Wait, what am I feeling? Did something upset me? And just having to stop and pay attention and think back through my day. It was scary, but it also started giving me back the connection with my own self, right? This started to feel like maybe this is what self-love is, like giving myself the time and the care and the love to actually know what I'm feeling. My feelings are telling me something's important to me. I'm not going to get mad or frustrated over something that's not important to me. I'm not going to get hurt or sad over something that's not important to me. Those emotions are like indicator lights on the car. I don't want to just ignore them or shut them down. I want to look at them and go, okay, what happened? Like I would with a friend that I love. Tell me, what are you feeling? You know, what made you feel that way? Oh, you're feeling sad. I can hear that, right? That makes sense too. Anybody would feel sad in that circumstance, right? Can I love myself enough to give myself the gift of feeling those feelings, naming those feelings, telling myself it's okay to have those feelings. It's understandable, right? So strengthen your self-awareness, get curious about what you're feeling, maybe even lean into the feelings. Oh, I'm disappointed in somebody today, and I hate feeling disappointed, so I feel like I want to eat or drink, but let's just sit with it for a minute. Let's lean into it. I'm disappointed. Are these feelings telling me about something I want to change in my life? Are these feelings just part of living? Sometimes things don't go the way I want them to go. I don't need to, eat or drink to try to numb out those feelings. It doesn't reflect on me that I'm feeling disappointed sometimes. Does this relate for you guys? Do you find that part of emotional eating is just not accepting and not tolerating your own feelings? I would even say I was phobic I mean, I was kind of phobic of my feelings. Oh no, I'm mad at somebody. This is terrible. I need to eat or drink something right now. It's like, okay, you do not need to eat or drink something. You're mad at somebody. Okay, people get mad. It's not terrible. You can have this feeling. Maybe it's giving you information. Maybe it's telling you somebody violated a boundary, right? So yeah, it's it can be really helpful. Can you guys imagine just starting to treat your feelings differently, like you would with a friend that you love? Their feelings are okay. You're not judging them for their feelings, right? So that's my number 3 point is don't make it worse. Don't make your emotional state worse by judging it, right? I shouldn't be feeling this way. I shouldn't be mad at anybody ever. It's not okay to be mad. It's human to be mad sometimes. If I judge my feelings, I'm making it worse, right? I'm making it harder on myself. How we handle our anger matters. People are going to tell us if we step out of line with how we behave with our anger. I think because we all went through childhood, and when we got angry, threw something or bit somebody, right? Somebody told us, "Stop that, you terrible child," right? But the message we took away might have been, I should never feel angry. And that's just not a helpful message. It's more like, I need to develop skills for handling angry feelings in a way that's constructive, right? So don't make it worse by judging your feelings. Don't make it worse by making up a story about what it means, right? Like, I'm mad, therefore this person did something wrong and I need to punish them. Okay, that's a big leap, right? I'm mad. Let's look at what I'm feeling and why, and what do I want to do about it. But as soon as I make up a whole narrative and just buy into it without question, I probably made those feelings worse, right? So it's better to approach our feelings, lean into them, but with curiosity, right? Like a journalist. Oh, let's just see what's going on here. How would we describe it in a factual way? What am I feeling? Where am I feeling it in my body? So number 4, when we're ready to stop emotional eating, first, know it can be done. Second, strengthen your self-awareness. Just acknowledge your feelings, lean into them. Third, be careful not to make it worse by judging it or making up some kind of story about what it all means that isn't necessarily true. And fourth is, we can change our habits. Yes, they feed on themselves, they keep themselves going. We can change them with clear intention, right? There's a whole psychology to this, but we can get very intentional. I like to use the phrase awkwardly intentional about changing this habit. Like, when I catch myself getting ready to do emotional eating, I'm going to do this awkward, like, wait, what are you doing? What are you feeling? How about if we just sit with this for a minute? And I'm going to like journal, and I'm going to think about it and notice what I'm thinking and feeling. And then at the end of that, if I choose, I can go ahead and eat something, drink something, etc. But just giving in every time is training my brain. I don't have any choice here. Really coming to feel like it's 100% my choice what I put into my body. Like, coming to realize that it was a process, right? There was this awkward intentionality around recognizing I'm in charge of what I put into my body. I didn't feel like that. I had to get really, really honest, really intentional about this. Wait, I'm going to stop. I'm going to make a different choice. I'm going to take at least 10 minutes to note what I'm feeling and notice what it might be telling me. What's it indicating in my life, right? I started getting really honest with myself about the costs of emotional eating, right? It's very easy. It's very common in our society to tell ourselves it's benign. I'll just stop tomorrow, you know? And both of those are lies. We're not going to just stop tomorrow. We're going to have to stop today, one of these days, right? And it's a lie that it's benign. Emotional eating is not benign. It's hurting us. It's understandable that we're doing it. We've been trained to do it, and it's become a habit. but it is not benign. So get honest with yourself. This is what I did. It is hurting me physically in real, measurable ways, especially over time, right? It is hurting me emotionally. I don't feel good about myself spiritually, right? I felt like in some ways I had lost all the other skills I had for coping with my emotions. This as a practicing psychologist, right? So if you're finding that this is the only way you have for coping with emotions, don't feel bad. This is just so common. But getting honest with myself in a self-compassionate way, like you're human too. It's okay. I did a lot of self hugs early on, especially like it's okay. You're feeling kind of scared. You're feeling kind of disappointed. But you can do this. You've done hard things before, right? So stand against this habit, get intentional and decide emotional eating is going out. I am rooting it out. Recognize it's not benign and it is not inevitable. It is not serving me, and I'm going to figure out a new habit, right? I spent time outlining the costs of emotional eating, right? And writing down that is not benign. That is not a habit I'm going to hold on to, because your primitive brain is going to try to hold on to the habits you have. You really have to get awkwardly intentional in this conversation with yourself. It's not going to just disappear because I just decided in this second I'm going to stop. But as you dig into it and look at it more honestly and maybe think about it each morning, what's my intention today? What's my focus going to be with eating? What's my lunch, my breakfast, lunch, and dinner going to be? And other things I'm not going to do just because I get that impulse that I'm used to giving into, right? Ask yourself, okay, I really want to eat or drink something right now. What am I hoping it's going to do for me? I'm hoping I won't feel mad anymore. I'm hoping I'll forget all about what I'm mad about. Well, what's the cost of that? And is it really going to do for you what you hope it's going to do? Like maybe it'll make you forget the mad right now, but are you just going to be still mad tomorrow and you still haven't found a way to deal with it, right? All right. So we can change our habits with very clear intention. We can replace this emotional eating habit with a habit of eating for real nutrition. You know, that's what I'm advocating for real energy and nutrition, for nutrition that's going to make my body be really healthy for decades to come, right? So I just want to address, how do we find that, right? Because I'm a smart and well-read and thoughtful person who thought I was doing pretty well finding what's healthy. But it is really difficult in our current environment to even find what's healthy. Finding real answers that are truly helpful is not easy in our current environment. It's not rocket science by any means, but our environment is very confusing and very misleading and really dishonest, actually. So there's focus on cutting calories, there's focus on, cutting carbs, and there's new tips every day. And none of that is how it works. So this is exactly my mission. I help women over 40 discover a healthy eating approach that's really clear, really specific, and really effective. So you can get healthy and vital for many years to come, hopefully decades to come, right? You can get slender for good and find this way of eating that's really nutritious. Little by little, it becomes automatic. It becomes effortless. It becomes your new habit that you're trying to maintain, right? It becomes thoroughly enjoyable, so you never have to diet again. Hate dieting. So finding an eating approach that's healthy and slenderful in a transformative way that will turn you from I'm going the wrong direction here to I'm easily going the right direction day after day, meal after meal. So finding that is not easy. I went directly to the scientific literature eventually. I quit looking at the latest diet book and the latest articles and the popular media because I could see this is not working. For 99% of people, this is not leading to sustainable, healthy results at all. And it wasn't for me. So I finally went directly to the research literature, looking at what works for health and for eating and for weight loss, and what works for women over 40 predictably, over and over and over. If they eat this way, it works, right? And as I found the answers, the weight just started falling off. My health started completely transforming. No more insomnia, no more pain and inflammation, no more hot flashes, no more brain fog, right? No more insomnia. All these things just got so much better. So I can hike again, and I can envision hiking in my 80s, which used to be my dream and had disappeared by my mid 50s. So it works. It became easy to release the excess weight and transform my health and vitality. And I started helping other women do the same. And so I have something that I'm giving away for free that I really feel can help you. I've taken a lot of time figuring out how to help other women with this. And part of it is learning a way of eating that actually works and quitting looking for the latest tip. That's just totally misleading and not going to help. And part of it is there's a whole psychology piece to capitalize on here, right? We transform mindsets like I should never feel uncomfortable, and I'm not in charge of what I eat, and I deserve this bad thing, but it's a treat, and I will make up for it tomorrow. There's a whole bunch of mindsets that we shift so that we can really get to this strong, healthy psychology that will make it easy to continue the healthy habits, right? So we can get these healthy habits and get sustainable, healthy weight loss, such a release of health and vitality that we can live with. Like, we live in this body. This is what we live in, right? I was trying to see how much can I get away with eating the junky stuff before it kills me. Like, I just really wanted to change my whole approach. And now my whole approach has become, I can eat what's good for my body every meal and thoroughly enjoy it. I crave the good stuff at this point. And that's a little bit of a process to get to, but it's a really, really rewarding process. So what I'm offering for free is this roadmap to sustainable weight loss over 40. I've taken years figuring out, how do I help other women get these same results? And then I took the last year figuring out, how do I put it down in writing so people can understand it? Because the messages are really counterintuitive from what we've learned in our society in some ways. So how do I express this so you go, that makes sense, right? I get that. I can start doing something different now. Where do you get it is at slenderforgood.com. I would love to hear what you think if you get it. You deserve to look and feel your best after 40. The world needs us after 40, after 50 women to be at our best, to be looking, feeling our best for many, many years to come, right? So let's take care of ourselves in a real way. Self-indulgence and self-care are not the same thing. And we can eat in a way that changes everything. All right, I would love to hear your feedback after you look that over. And I'm really glad that you joined me today. All right, take care.